Welcome to SaaS Backwards, a podcast that helps SaaS CEOs and CMOs to accelerate growth and enhance profitability. Our guest today is Kris Rudeegraap, co-CEO of Sendoso, a gifting and direct mail platform that helps revenue teams 6x second call rates, double win rates, and close deals 29% faster. I love those stats in the description. I don't see very many companies doing that, so kudos to you. Uh, but tell us a little bit more about Sendoso.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jason. So I started Sendoso about 8 years ago. Prior to that, spent about a decade in software sales myself. And I really saw firsthand, one, the evolution of outbound prospecting, which a decade ago, being able to mail merge was like the cool thing. And you'd send 100 emails and get like 99 replies. I remember it being awesome. But I started to see some diminishing returns, started to see less people replying, and was trying to figure out what else was out there besides your typical cold calling and social. And so I was starting to experiment more with writing handwritten notes and sending it out to a prospect, or being on a call and hearing a dog bark and sending out a dog toy, or going into our swag closet and grabbing swag out and shipping it out. And it all worked really, really well. It was just crazy hard to do. It was like afternoons packing boxes, clicking tracking links, expense reporting, FedEx. My VPs were always like, keep doing it. It works. You're the top rep. But I always thought, hey, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so when I was Googling and Googling and didn't find anything, I kept that in the back of my mind. And then ABM started to be a buzzword like in the infamousy. And as part of ABM, you need to do direct mail and gifting to sell, to engage a larger buying committee. And that was led me to the aha moment for Sendoso, which, as you explained, is a software and logistics marketplace that allows you to send almost anything you could ever think of, whether it's a bottle of wine, 10,000 postcards, a t-shirt with the LA Dodgers logo on it, or anything, and connected it into your tech stack so you could have budgets, controls, permissioning, reporting, and then all of the worldwide fulfillment we do.
Yeah, I love the concept. I think we can agree that with Outbound, the problem today is getting anybody to pay attention in the sea of
Correct.
crap noise that I get all the time, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and AI is only making that harder or easier to spam and versus grabbing your attention. So,
I think I heard somebody refer to it as the great ignore.
yeah, I've heard that too.
But sending gifts are hard to ignore. That's part of the reason why it works, I think.
Yeah, harder to ignore. There's a more psychological component to that. I don't think you delete an email in your inbox and you feel bad about it, which if
Right.
you get a nice
You
gift,
used to. You
yeah,
used
yeah,
to.
you used to, but not anymore. And then I think the other thing inherently with gifting and direct mail is there's a built-in cost. So it prohibits some of that spam level because I'm not going to go send you 1,000 bottles of nice wine. I'm going to have to be more thoughtful on who I'm going to send to, what the message is going to be. And so there's some built-in channel fatigue prevention. Unlike email, where if I send you a million emails tomorrow, it's cost me zero-ish.
Well, that's a really good point. In fact, the last night I was at an event and they were talking about ways that they're gaming the system today for email because Google and other
Mm-hmm.
platforms have really clamped down on the number of outbound emails that you can send per day without harming your sender score, right?
Precisely.
And this is interesting what you're saying is that there's a little bit of like good behavior control there.
Exactly. Exactly.
I better have a good reason to reach out if I'm going to send them a bottle of wine, right?
Exactly.
So tell me more about the background of Sendoso. How long have you been around? And tell me about the funding and build out, initial go-to-market strategy.
Yeah. So quit my job, started Sendoso about 8 years ago. Took about a year to launch. There was a good amount of behind the scenes having to build out the warehouse infrastructure, the global marketplace. So besides the SaaS software, there's also a warehouse management software, order management software that's the behind the scenes tech stack layer. So we really went big in 2018 and went to market then. And based on my sales background, it was quite natural for me just to go out and start selling day zero. And that's what we did. We really built a lot of good traction instantly, which helped with our fundraising, as you mentioned. So put about 25K of my own money in to get to version one, realized that version one wasn't quite enough, and got another 25K from a couple other friends. That really got us to launch. So we didn't spend a significant amount to get to launch at the time. But then we realized that we needed to start to go to market more. We raised another 350K from some angels. At that point, we had about 100K ARR, so it was easier to justify from those second set of angels. And then just the traction continued. About 6 months after that, we raised a 2 million seed to really prove our go-to-market fit. And that we were at maybe about a half a million in ARR at that point, and then raised a 12 million A, 40 million B, and 100 million C, all those to really accelerate growth.
Wow. And then where are you today on the profitability
Yeah,
curve?
this quarter hit profitability. So that was
Awesome.
exciting for us. I think we, like a lot of tech startups, overemphasized the growth at all costs during kind of the 2020, 2021, 2022 era, and then had to re-envision our strategies, our unit economics, our go-to-market to focus more on efficient, profitable growth, which is what we did the last year and a half.
I keep hearing that growth at all costs, we're moving away from that. Do
Mhm.
you agree with that, or is that really happening, or is that just wishful thinking?
I think it's actually happening. I think all the VCs kind of band together and said, don't do that anymore. We need to see some better unit economics. And I do think that AI came at a good time to augment that because I think in the growth at all costs model, you were throwing lots of humans and hiring instead of thinking about efficient ways to scale or efficient ways to use technology to your advantage, or you were caring about only ARR and less about CAC and things of that nature. So I do think that's shifting. However, I think we're at an interesting time where VCs are like, we told you profitability, but we want growth too now. And so I think the pendulum is shifting back to saying you need to do both. You need to be thoughtful on your burn and or profitability, but you also need to show a lot good growth now too. And I think that's maybe where the rule of 40 will come in and prove out a mixture of growth and profits.
What's the rule of 40?
The rule of 40 just looks at the combination of your growth as well as your profits and gives you a combined score. So
Okay.
you're adding both of those together.
And then what was the timing of your latest fundraise? Was that a couple of years ago, last year, or what?
End of 21 was when we took on the 100 million Series C.
So how have you seen that environment change since the last time you raised money to currently?
Yeah, so I think that for earlier stage companies, seed A, even B, there's still a very active fundraising market. I think also for AI Series A, B, and seed, there's a very attractive reason why investors are looking at that. For later stage, very specific AI companies like the AI infrastructure, some of these LLMs, they're getting insane funding. I think for other startups that are in Series C or D or E or later, there's a bit of a halt to some of that growth stage. I think that's also due to the backlog of IPOs. I think the later stage growth funds that we're putting in Series D, E, Fs, putting in a few hundred million to a billion, knowing that in a couple years they were going to see some liquidity in the IPO markets. That has stalled, waiting for the public markets to come back. And so I think there's a bit of uncertainty there, which is making it a bit harder for some of the late stage, some of those 1,000+ unicorns to drive even more funding at this point right now.
So what do you think the investors saw in Sendoso?
I think a few things. One is we had tremendous traction from the beginning. And I think that traction is easy to raise money on, especially when we're compared to other startups that are not seeing that great traction. When we went and raised our Series A, we had over 5 million in ARR already, which for some Series A companies, they're trying to get to a million in ARR. And that's lucky. So I think the proof is in the ARR for us in the early years. Also, a huge TAM and disrupting a very legacy siloed offline kind of industry. So we were that digital transformation into the software eating the world concept. Corporate gifting is a multi-hundred-billion-dollar category, but it's just really done through spreadsheets and offline and a lot of siloed vendors. Same with direct mail, another 50 billion is spent there. But again, this is like print houses, SFTP uploads, not software enabled. Same with promotional products and swag is a very offline, non-silo driven. So huge TAM, lots of spend. We also had a ton of traction, a ton of happy customers, and a lot of word of mouth in the community. So for a lot of our VCs talking to us that inbounded to us and wanted to invest, it was, hey, I saw your name in a board deck that the CMO was saying that they use this and it's a channel that's driving a ton of success for them. So it was very easy for these VCs to go to these portfolio companies, be like, hey, have you heard of Sendoso? And they're like, yes, or no, not yet. But now that you told me about it, I'm going to go demo test immediately. So I think that building that community, building that product, and then I don't know, I think my sales background really helped as well, basically pitching and selling the dream to VCs too.
Yeah, absolutely. So who would you say are your ideal clients? Is it anybody with a sales force, basically, or is it
Yeah. I think we originally built for sales teams because I was a salesperson. I had sales team experience and I thought sales would be our buyer. We saw that sales was a big influencer for us and a champion, but marketing would tend to buy. In some cases, chief customer officer had some budget to want to buy, and in some cases, an HR leader or people leader would coming in. But at the end of the day, we support a lot of clients in a lot of different use cases. It could be a demand gen leader that needs to improve pipeline. It could be a content marketer that wants to increase content downloads. Could be a field marketer that wants to drive more webinar signups or traffic to a booth. Could be a customer marketer that wants to send welcome kits, or an ABM marketer that wants to increase the buying committee, or an AE that wants to use this for win rates or deal acceleration, or an SDR to book meetings. Our product can be used by a wide range of users across lots of different industries. We have big tech companies, we have big banks, we have small staffing firms, we have veterinarian clinics, we have sports teams, we have hotels. So I think if you squint your eyes and really boil it down, we're a communication medium to break through the noise and deliver a message, just like an ad would or an email would. Sending somebody a gift in the mail or a direct mailer is just another means to communicate, whether that's a prospect or a customer.
And then do you help the clients come up with the gifts that would be appropriate to send?
Yeah, we do that in a couple different ways. So one of our advantages is we do allow our customers to come up with their own ideas and ship things into our warehouses. So if you're very self-service and want to do it yourself, or you a lot of times you might have an office full of items or swag, or even some people these days have a garage full of swag or conference materials. So we'll be able to onboard that. The second is we have a campaign services team. You can think about this as a very high touch, almost agency like team that will be very consultative, even pitch you ideas, send you a deck of ideas and let you pick. And then we do all the procurement behind the scenes. And then the other really cool thing we have is some really interesting AI and data built on the hundreds and hundreds of millions spent on our platform. And so we have all this usage data on what's the right thing to send to the right person at the right time with the right message. And so we have this smart send and smart message feature where I can go put in email address and it'll pull up, hey, you should send Jason this or that or this. Or you could plug in, hey, I'm talking to a CRO in Austin, and it will tell you what you should send. And so that's been pretty cool to use AI and data as a really interesting recommendation engine.
And I was always curious too with the direct mail front with the more hybrid workforce
Yeah.
working from home. How do you get individual addresses if you want to send to somebody like me that works out of
Yeah.
their house, right?
100%. A lot of people work from home now. So there's a few different ways we help support that. One is we have an address confirmation feature where you can send an email. Hey, Jason, got this for you. Please confirm your address. We act as the middleman, so it's all PII protected and the address is deleted after, so it doesn't have to sit in like their CRM or anything. So that's a common use case. We see upwards of 80% address confirmation based on an email. Secondly, we have address and data partners that you can connect with as well. And then we have a feature called Smart Delivery that's in beta where we actually will pull in address data into our platform, but also recommend based on data that we have to say, Jason works from home, or hey, we know Kris goes into the office 3 times a week, or we know, hey, don't ask Jason for an email confirmation for confirming his address, send him an SMS instead. So that's a smart delivery algorithm that's in beta that we'll be rolling out as well too.
Very cool. What do you think are the main objections to gifting and how do you address those?
Yeah, there's definitely some misconceptions. The first one is gifting is expensive. And I think that some people take that as face value. But what I say to that is, well, if I told you that for a dollar spent in gifting delivered $4 in pipeline versus you spend a dollar in ads and it delivers $2 in pipeline, which is it really more expensive? Not really. Another way to look at it is, hey, if I send you a $50 gift today and I book a meeting with you, versus the alternative is I send you emails over the next 3 months and then you book a meeting with me and you close the deal. If I bring that revenue 3 months sooner because I grabbed your attention 3 months sooner with that $50 gift, what's that opportunity worth? 3 months sooner of revenue. And then there's also other things that are low cost. Like we see some people that will send like an empty pizza box with a note that says like hungry for a new solution, take a meeting. Like or some fake aspirin pills and a note that says, does your current solution giving you a headache? And those are like sub $10 cents. The creativity is more of the value than the sending you a $500 Oculus to get your meeting.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
those ideas.
You
Definitely.
mentioned the no mailing address. That's an objective or a misconception. Hey, I don't know. I don't have their address, so I can't use direct mail. No, we can help you with that. There's also, I don't know what to send. That comes up. But again, we can help you with that. And then there's some people that say, hey, gifting's only for large enterprises with very, very big deal sizes. But we have companies that have hundreds of thousands of customers, the Intuits, the ADPs, the selling to small businesses, where it's actually even more impactful because they're not getting hit up as much. You can send a $5 to $10, $20 gift. You might have easier mailing addresses if you're selling into SMBs or regional locations. So yeah, and then there's also segmentation with the data because we connect into your systems. You can segment who you're going to send gifts to as well, or direct mailers.
Great. Wondering if you could share a case study or two, or give me some of the background behind those stats that we listed in the opening.
Yeah. So the stats in the opening are from a partner hockey stack that they did a kind of a third-party data study on about 400 million data points and looked at across a ton of different companies and whether they used gifting in their outreach or in their pipeline initiatives or didn't at all. That study can be found just by going to our blog and reading or going to the Hockey Stack blog. So that's really cool. You can go to the details, but a huge data study, which is awesome. We also have, you go to sendoso.com/customer-examples or sendoso.com/success-stories. Maybe you can include those in the show notes. Has a ton and ton of different examples, but a couple that come to mind that I love. Gong, they had a project called Project Pinata, where they were sending out these pinatas in the mail, and they influenced over 30 million in pipeline from sending pinatas. So that was a really cool program. Gainsight sent out their customer success book that the CEO co-authored. So a really good thought leadership send. That was an outbound try book meetings mailer, and that booked over 5 million in pipeline just attributed to that book send.
Wow.
This company called Guru improved their conversion rate of book meetings by sending out cupcakes. They saw that was a good strategy. And then Verkada has spent millions on our platform sending out Yeti mugs. And they're pretty creative in that they do that in their outbound targeting, both from an outbound SDR perspective, but they also include that Yeti mug in their ad copy and have seen an insane increase in their ad conversion rate by using a Yeti mug as an incentive to book a meeting across advertising on social media sites and LinkedIn. For every dollar they spend on our platform, they see a $4 ROI. So they just pump as much money. But yeah, on the ad, it's an interesting way to differentiate an ad by offering up an incentive of a Yeti mug swag. We see this across other customers who have big ad spends and are looking to, if they can drive a few more percent or more conversion. And through us, it's all automated. So you throw them in, the ad drops them onto a landing page. They fill out the demo request form. It could be a Marketo form, Salesforce form, Eloqua form, any form. Even we provide landing page forms. And then on the back end, we automatically send it out. So the fulfillment is turnkey there as well on the demo request.
Interesting. So, how can people learn more about this or connect with you directly?
Yeah, follow me on LinkedIn. I love sharing a lot of thought leadership content. Go to our website, sendoso.com, if you want to learn more about Sendoso directly, or email me, Kris, Kris at sendoso.com. Whether you have questions about Sendoso or just want to network, love meeting other marketing and sales leaders.
Fantastic. Well, that's giving me a lot to think about. I definitely want to go get a demo because I think it makes a lot of sense. Getting the doors opened is a really hard thing to do today with everybody trying to ignore. So it's nice to hear that there are some inexpensive ways to that'll actually scale, right? That's the differentiator.
Exactly. Yeah, Jason, thanks for having me on. This was a great convo.
And our agency is called Austin Lawrence Group. We sponsor the SaaS Backwards podcast, and you can find us at austinlawrence.com. That's spelled like the two cities, Austin, Texas, and Lawrence, Kansas. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, please do so wherever podcasts are distributed.